Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to Krsnaa Diagnostics Limited Q2 FY22 and first half FY22 earnings conference call hosted by Equirus Securities Private Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Bharat Celly from Equirus Securities. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Celly.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to you all. My name is Bharat Celly from Equirus Securities Private Limited. We thank the management of Krsnaa Diagnostics for allowing us to host their Q2 FY22 results update call and first half FY22 on call. On behalf of the Equirus Securities, I would like to thank you all for participating in company's earnings conference call. On the call from Krsnaa's management, we have Mr. Rajendra Mutha, Chairman and Whole-time Director, Mr. Yash Mutha, Whole-time Director, and Mr. Pawan Daga, who is CFO at the organization. We will start the call with opening remarks from the management, followed by Q&A. Over to you, Mr. Yash Mutha. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bharat. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Krsnaa Diagnostics first ever earnings call. I hope you and your loved ones are safe and healthy. The company got recently listed on BSE and NSE on 16th of August 2021. I would like to thank all our employees, partners, and shareholders who have showed confidence in our business model and joined us in fulfilling our mission to make a difference in the healthcare diagnostic industry. On today's call, I would start with a brief overview of our company, our growth drivers, and the strategy going forward. Then I would pass on the call to our CFO, Mr. Pawan Daga, to discuss the financial performance in more detail. We have already circulated our earnings presentations, which is available on our website as well as the stock exchange's website. I hope you all have had the opportunity to go through the presentation, and we would be happy to take any questions afterwards. With regards to the company's overview and journey, today Krsnaa, we are one of the fastest growing and differentiated diagnostic service provider in India, providing specialized diagnostic, radiology, pathology, clinical laboratory, and teleradiology services. We started our operations in 2011 with a core mission to provide easily accessible and affordable services while maintaining focus on quality and maintaining the highest standards. Over the years, we have expanded our footprint significantly from 2 radiology centers to over 1,800 plus diagnostic centers in 14 states today, with a CAGR of around 38%. Our workforce comprises of 186 radiologists, 33 pathologists, 7 microbiologists, and over 2,700 qualified professionals, including clinicians, technicians, and operators, which is a remarkable achievement considering the fact that we are just a 10-year-old company. Moving forward to our business model, I'd like to highlight few key important aspects of our business model. First, the service offerings. We provide radiology, pathology, and teleradiology test services. In radiology, we are having pan-India operations across 14 states with 1,370 radiology centers, which are offering almost 1,394 radiology tests. Our principal diagnostics services include imaging modalities such as MRI, CT scans, X-rays, mammography, bone densitometry, ultrasound, and color doctor. In pathology, all the key disciplines of the conventional as well as specialized lab services are part of our offerings, with almost 2,544 pathological tests provided through these 487 centers. Our teleradiology services, which we operate from Pune, which is also one of India's largest teleradiology reporting hub. At this facility, we have almost more than 190 plus team of radiologists from India and abroad, which examines digital images and prepares these reports. This is a unique value proposition which addresses the shortage of full-time of doctors and staff in the diagnostic industry and considerably increases the turnaround time for the reports. In addition, it also allows us to serve patients in remote locations where diagnostic facilities are limited. The second and important dimension of our business model is the public-private partnerships. Today at Krsnaa, we have the largest presence in the diagnostics PPP segment. Diagnostic industry, as everyone knows, is highly underpenetrated in a large part of our country, and to address this gap, government engages with private partners to collaborate with public hospitals and expand the reach of essential diagnostic services. Krsnaa Diagnostics, with its highly quality and disruptive prices, has emerged as a preferred partner for public health agencies and currently has 1,797 dedicated centers under the PPP model. Various government health agencies provide space for setting up the diagnostics centers, and we need to invest and set up the equipment as per the contract requirements. These contracts typically range between 2 to 10 years, whereas most of the contracts are in the 10-year horizon, which gives us improves the revenue visibility in terms of the tenure, as well as gives us a high chance of renewal. Along with this, and through an efficient working capital management, we have been able to keep our receivables in the range of 7 to 90 days, and I'm happy to report that we have not incurred a single bad debt in our contracts till date. With increasing government focus on providing high-quality healthcare services, the rising prevalence of central schemes like Ayushman Bharat, it is expected to boost the PPP model in the diagnostic industry, and our business fundamentals are truly and fully aligned to tap in this growing opportunity. In addition to the PPP model, we also have strategic tie-ups with 26 private hospitals present across in the 2 states. In this model as well, we enter into a contract with private healthcare companies who provide us a space in their hospital, and we set up the radiology and pathology centers on a revenue sharing model. We've been very selective in our strategic tie-ups, and increasingly we have been receiving a lot more partnership queries and requests, which our teams are carefully evaluating, and we can expect good expansion in the coming years. Our competitive advantage lies in our clinical expertise, our IT-based infrastructure, and the disruptive pricing. Today, we employ the most advanced technologies with cloud-based support in our centers. Our focus is on providing patients with robust, evidence-based treatment in any part of the country. Most of the process equipment deployed are fully automated and require very limited manual intervention to provide these high-quality reports and an in-depth analysis. We offer quality diagnostic services at disruptive prices. Our radiology tests are almost 45 to 60% lower, and the pathology tests are 40 to 80% lower than the market rates, giving delight to the customers. And despite these lower prices, the company has been able to deliver one of the highest operating margins in FY20 due to its efficient operating cost structure. I now take this opportunity to brief you about the strategic priorities. Today at Krsnaa Diagnostics, we follow a clear and defined strategy to expand our business. We will continue to expand our geographic presence across India under the PPP model and the strategic tie-ups that we have with hospitals. We also look to enhance our capabilities in specialized diagnostics like molecular and genomics. Krsnaa is equally focusing on growing our digital footprint and leveraging AI, ML, and other such technologies. And at the same time, we are equally focused on improving our operational efficiency and profitability. In line with our growth strategy today, we have recently won 5 new public-private partnerships and private contracts, wherein we'll be installing 29 CT scanners and 8 MRI machines, which will be commissioned at the center soon. Overall, the Indian diagnostic industry is expected to grow at a CAGR of almost around approximately 15% for the next few years, which presents a huge opportunity side. The industry is expected to be supported by various fundamental growth drivers like the aging population, rising awareness for healthcare, penetration in rural areas, as well as increasing investments by both government and private players. I'm confident of the ability and strength of Krsnaa Diagnostics business model, and the management team remains fully committed to grow its business and to remain fastest growing diagnostics company in India. I will now hand over the call to Mr. Pawan Daga, our Chief Financial Officer, to discuss the financial performance.
Thank you. Yes, a very good afternoon. Good afternoon to all attendees. I will present a financial highlight for the half year ended September 21. Before we move to the recent performance, I would like to highlight that we are one of the fastest growing diagnostic service provider in India. Over financial year 2018 to 2021, company posted a revenue CAGR growth of 64% and strong growth in operating profit. Quality of our growth could be understood from the fact that the average operating EBITDA to cash flow conversion stood at 89% during the same period. In FY22 H1, the company registered a revenue of 241 crore. In H1 FY22, an increase of 19% on year-on-year basis from 203 crore in FY21 H1. The revenue growth was supported by a growth in a core business, which is radiology and pathology. Together registered a revenue of 212 crores, an increase of 143% on year-on-year basis from 87 crores and contributed 89% of the total revenue. The overall revenue growth was partly offset due to decline in COVID revenue by around 75%. Total number of 7.81 million tests we conducted in first half year FY22, registering a significant increase of 104% on year-on-year basis, out of which a core business tests were 7.5 million, up by 120%, whereas the COVID tests were 0.66 million, up by 14%. It is a reflection that the core business, backed by a strong fundamental, to grow even with the normalize of a COVID situation. Operating EBITDA stood at 74%, a growth of 76% on year-on-year basis, and margin improving significantly to 31% as compared to 21% in H121. EBITDA margin improvement was by higher number of tests, increased contribution from core business, and stabilizing the cost of material consumed as the supply chain stabilized. We believe our differentiated business model will drive a growth and a profitability, as we are generally engaged in a long-term contract for maintaining a strong revenue visibility, and at the same time, since we are able to limit our rentals and incur lower marketing spend due to well-established network, we are able to optimize our cost structure, maintain healthy margins and the profitability. PAT, excluding CCPS gain, was 34 crore, a growth of 167% year-on-year basis from 13 crore in H1 FY21. Kindly note that the reported PAT for H1 FY21 was 166 crore due to one-time gain of rupees 253 crore due to fair value movement of compulsory convertible preferential share. Profit after tax margin were 13.8% as compared to 6.1% in H1 FY21. Company generated cash from operation of rupees 73 crore in first half H1 FY22, and EBITDA to cash flow conversion remains strong with 98% of operating profit. Converting into the operating cash flow, we continue to strengthen our balance sheet, and at the end of September 21, our net cash position was 326 crore. During the period, we have repaid total debt of rupees 178 crore. We have utilized rupees 143 crore out of the IPO proceeds of rupees 146 crore in line with the stated objective of debt reduction, and remaining positions is funded by internal accrual, which is around 35 crore. Second objective of IPO proceeds was setting up a new diagnostic center, and the company has incurred a capex of 53 crore during the first half. The same objective and highlighted in our earning part of a call in last 6 months. We have won 5 PPP and private contracts to commission 29 CT scanners and 8 MRI machines in Punjab, Himachal Pradesh, Karnataka, Maharashtra, and companies fully geared up for our expansion. Thank you very much, and we are now ready to take any questions.
Thank you very much. We'll now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Participants, you may press star and 1 to ask a question. The first question is from the line of Rahul Veera from Abacus Asset Managers. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Sir, just a couple of questions. Since we are already sitting on cash plus the EBITDA that will accrue over the next couple of years, what is the total capex outlay now?
So if you consider the cash that we have in the books currently comprises of the IPO proceeds, which are earmarked for the project that we've already won. And in terms of the internal accruals that we'll be generating, again, we are looking at various opportunities, both in terms of PPP projects or expanding our presence. So we could utilize the internal accruals for such expansion. And the capex that we typically look at, from a horizon perspective, would be anywhere between 100 to 200 crores, invest annually.
Okay. Fair point. So till FY23, we have enough cash balance for the growth opportunities that we can see. Okay.
Yes.
And sir, are we seeing any incremental pressure on the chemicals or agents on the pricing front? Like, are we expecting the EBITDA margins and everything to continue at 30% now over the next 2 years?
Yes. We certainly see no pressure in the pricing of our reagents and consumables, and we will be able to maintain the EBITDA levels. In fact, along with incremental revenue, we'll also be able to additional revenue will also help improve the EBITDA margins, and that is what we expect in the subsequent quarters.
Sure. Sir, and can you just throw some highlight of why would the company secretary immediately after the IPO move out of the firm, sir?
Yes. So the earlier company secretary, she had certain health problems, and this is why she decided to quit. And we got Nikhil Deshpande, who is a very senior and experienced gentleman, comes with a strong experience of working in listed companies. So that is the reason why we had to replace.
Sure. Fair point, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pritesh Chheda from Lucky Investment Managers. Please go ahead.
Sir, if you could tell us what will be the total network expansion that you will have in 22, 23 and 24? So, in terms of your capacity?
Could you just repeat that question?
Based on the capex that you have outlined for the next 3 years, what is the total network expansion that we will have? Either you want to give it in the form of centers or MRI machines or whichever way you think, or the volume of business, whichever way you think you are comfortable with.
So if you see in terms of expansion, we have ambitions and plans to establish almost 150 plus CT scans and additional almost around 50 MRI in the next coming quarters. Of course, and this will be expanded, the opportunities there, which will be implemented over the next 2 to 3 years. Along with this, there are various opportunities that we are also currently looking at, especially after COVID. Governments are opening up for the PPP, projects and tenders where Krsnaa would love to participate and, further this growth.
150 CT scans and how many X-rays? Or let's put it this way, sir. How many centers are? So this 200 crore capex means what kind of business volume addition?
Okay. So if you're considering this 200 crores, first of all, from the IPO proceeds, we have earmarked almost close to 150 odd crores, which will be deployed for these various projects that we've already won. Like 23 CT scans, 6 MRIs in Punjab, 30 labs and 120 collection centers in Punjab, and the rest of it will be your CT scans in. So these are all the centers that we'll be installing through the IPO proceeds, which in the next fiscal should of course add revenues that will come. Almost around close to 200 crores is what we expect these projects to generate revenues in the next fiscal or the next financial year. And along with this, given the various opportunities that we are seeing, that is where I was mentioning about expanding our reach for additional CT scans, which might come through various scientific projects as well as private projects, where we would aspire to install these more 150 CT scans and 50 MRIs.
Sorry, so sir, I missed the second part now. And sir, your line is not properly audible.
Okay. Is it better now? I hope you can hear me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was saying that along with these existing projects that we have in hand, given that there are various PPP projects that are also coming up in the pipeline, we look forward to expand installing additional, say, around 150 CT scans and 50 MRIs in the next 2 to 3 years. I believe that was the question.
You said 150 CT scans and 50 MRIs out of the IPO, and then another 150 and 50. That's how you're putting?
No. Let me start again. Out of the IPO proceeds, as they are mentioned in the RHP as well, there are already projects for CT scans and MRIs. Totally, as I discussed in the call earlier, there are 29 CT scans and 8 MRI machines that have to be deployed using the IPO proceeds.
Okay.
This, along with the lab project that we won, they should contribute around 200 crores of revenue in the next fiscal based on the deployment of these centers. If you ask us from a...
That is 29 CT and 8 MRI, right?
Yes.
Okay. That is the 200 crore capex, right?
Yeah, so 29 CT scans, 8 MRIs and the pathology business.
Okay. And then you mentioned something like 150 scans and 50 MRIs.
Yes, so that is basically considering, that there are various states that are currently looking at opening up tenders. We believe that is an opportunity that can come Krsnaa's way in the next 2 to 3 years in terms of additional projects as well as on the private partnership that we are currently working on.
Now this was clear, sir. Okay. And sir, just a second and the last question actually. When you look at the way you have presented the number, X of COVID, you've given the number. So this quarter works out to about, let's say, about 100 odd crores, and for the half year you mentioned about 200 odd crores. Now, the way it is reported in the presentation, is it obvious that these numbers can be annualized for the number X of COVID?
Yes. So if you see what we've demonstrated, almost 240 crores of revenue in the first half year of FY22, in which the COVID business is very nominal. And as everyone knows, COVID has currently gone down significantly, I think, which is a good sign. So from that perspective, these look to be normalized revenue for us, which is steady state operations, which is a core business of radiology and pathology services.
Okay. Sir, in the IPO discussions, there was this whole thought that incrementally we would try to make our business a little bit more
Hello? We can't hear you. Hello, can anyone else hear us?
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So the line for the participant dropped. We move on to the next participant.
Sure.
The next question is from the line of Nitin Agarwal from DAM Capital. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. Yash, you mentioned about the incremental PPP opportunities opening up post-COVID. Can you give us a sense of qualitatively what kind of opportunities are opening up versus what was the situation prior to the COVID? Because our expansion that you outlined now, is more than literally doubling what you already have by way of capacity.
Sure. So, see, currently there are almost around 4 to 5 states which are looking to, some of the states have already published tenders where they want to, deploy the CT scan, MRI equipment. So as of now, as we speak, there are close to 4 to 5 states which have already published their tenders. There are other, right from a municipal corporation level to a state level at the NHM level, there are various tenders that are being published where we see this opportunity wherein they will require these centers to be upgraded and, the infrastructure to be established in the next months or years to come.
And just to sort of take that a little forward, in terms of the timelines for these impending tenders, so there are, if I were to break it up, you already got tender. You said you won tenders for 29 CT and 8 MRI machines.
Correct.
Are there any more tenders where you're already L1 which can get finally closed out before the end of the year?
So we have participated in few tenders. Their results probably would be expected, in the next couple of months. So we hope to see, and given a strike ratio, we might be winning those tenders as well.
Okay. So, just sort of going back to the 150 plus number that you talked about, 150 plus CT and 50 plus MRI. I mean, obviously, after you win the tender, it takes time for you to install these machines. By what time do you think you'd be able to, sort of, in your assessment, we win these contracts, have these contracts in your bag, literally, in some sense?
No. So these 150 CT scans and 50 MRI that we spoke about, this is from a 2 to 3 year horizon that we are talking about. Today we see across various states these discussions going on. So we believe these additional, there are around 25,000 public hospitals in the country today. We are just in handful. So from that perspective, we believe these kind of opportunities will come up in the way. Currently, there are 4 or 5 states who have published the tenders, which Krsnaa is working on.
And secondly, on your quarterly numbers, where you indicated the realization per test, there is a very sharp drop in realizations for radiology as well as pathology on a QOQ basis, even excluding COVID. Why? Could you help us explain what would drive that?
Yes. So if you see, largely when you compare on the realization per test on a quarter to quarter, the last quarter was an aberration because it was largely, the September last year was an aberration because it was largely due to COVID, it was the first wave, and the test prices for COVID was also high. Coupled with this, there are various tests that were required to be done as per, when people come for COVID tests, so there were ancillary tests or related tests that were also required to be done. Whereas in this quarter, there's, as I said earlier, our COVID revenues have been very minimal. And what you see is our regular state of operations in terms of, radiology and pathology tests. And also, you have to note a point that today our prices are almost 40 to 80% lower than the market rate. And also, our prices across various centers are at almost CGHS rate.
If I just conclude that, our realization for the radiology test this quarter is about 584 and 139 odd for the pathology. That's more like a sustainable, normalized number for our business, for these tests.
Yes. Also, what I think when you look at it, both in terms of the test prices, it's a combination of various tests. For example, our prices across different states vary. So when you just do a simple mathematics, you might see at these lower prices. But typically, our as I mentioned earlier, our prices for a CT scan or MRI test are almost 40 to 80% lower compared to the market rate. So that's normally the realization that we achieve both across CT scans, MRI, and pathology tests. But on a blended rate, it might look at it, which is again a sustainable model for us.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Krish Mehta from Enam Holdings. Please go ahead.
Hi, thank you for taking my questions. So the first question I had was, what is the current MRI and CT scan machine count as of the end of the second quarter?
The total CT scans machines that we would have will be around 65 CT scan equipment. and MRI would be around close to 30 MRI machines.
Okay. And my second question was on vendor financing. So what portion of the finance costs and liabilities we're seeing for this quarter was due to vendor financing? If you could provide more light on that.
Sure. I'll just have someone to answer that question.
Yeah. So during this quarter two, we paid all the debt which is mentioned in the offer document, and out of that, the foreclosure charges and the processing fee which we paid earlier, which is expense out during this quarter. So that's why in the quarter two, we can see an incremental finance cost, which is a one time, and over a period, the finance cost will be.
I think that's, yeah. I'm sorry, if you could just repeat the question.
No, my question was on vendor financing. So I wanted to know what portion of the finance costs and liabilities are attributable to vendor financing.
See, from a vendor financing today, we are tying up with these vendors, the OEM suppliers to provide us the vendors like open credit, where they give the equipment. Typically, the vendor financing works anywhere between, your bank rate around 8 to 12% because they also have their internal cost of capital. But we are working on this, how we could, further leverage our relationships and increase the portion of vendor financing.
So do we have any of these partnerships existing?
Yes, we already have partnerships with GE, Philips, and Fujifilm, where they have offered us vendor financing.
Okay, and could you just provide some light on the number for that in terms of what the finance cost portion is attributable to just this vendor financing?
Could you just repeat that question?
Could you give us like a ballpark number on what this vendor financing number would be like in your finance costs?
So currently we have, in terms of the limits, if you are asking, the limits that we have earmarked for the vendor financing is in the range of around 80 to 100 crores, where these OEM vendors have given us this line of credit, which we can utilize. Of course, when we look at our expansion plans, we will be looking at a combination of such vendor financing, a combination of debt and our existing equity to decide how we go ahead with expansion plans.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bhaumik from Aditya Birla. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for the opportunity. Couple of questions. One is, when you say there is a potential 200 crores of revenue that would come in FY23 from the recently won 5 contracts. So what's the kind of capex on these 5 contracts that we are talking of? And did I get the number right of 200 crores expected revenue from these 5 contracts in FY23?
Correct. So that is what, once these centers are fully operational, we expect these additional centers to generate almost close to 200 crores of annualized revenue. I missed out the part of your question. If you could repeat that, please.
So what's the kind of capex that would be required for these 5 contracts?
So currently we have earmarked around almost close to 150 crores of capex for this project.
Okay, so 150 crores odd can generate about 200 crores of revenue.
Correct, which is like the first year revenues. Of course, as the business grows and volumes grow.
And then it ramps up. Yeah, sure. And secondly, when you're talking of a medium-term opportunity of 150 CT and 50 MRI, so from a capital allocation standpoint, how are you guys looking at it? Obviously the opportunity could be big, but that would also entail a large capex number as well, right? So how are you looking at the entire piece? Would you restrict yourself to a certain amount of capex per annum, or how do all these things add up for you?
See, this opportunity that we discussed about today, both in terms of expansion, if you see, a combination of our internal accruals, vendor financing, and if required a debt, if the overall cost of the investment is overlooked. That we believe will be help us to expand and encash these or leverage these opportunities that will come along the way. Typically, as a ballpark, we normally look to invest around 100 to 200 crores. That's been our trend as well in investing in these various opportunities or centers that will come in the near future.
Yeah, I got that actually from the initial part, but could that number of 100 to 200 crores accelerate given the opportunities that are coming up? Yeah, I actually wanted to understand that a bit more. Because when you're talking of a 150 cities, so what I'm trying to understand is that, while I understand that, you are talking of 100 to 200 crores of capex per annum, could that number accelerate over the next 2-3 years in terms of the capex amount being larger given the opportunities that are coming up? And how does that sort of have an impact overall, on the metrics like ROCE and free cash flows and so on and so forth?
Yes. See, as I said, these are opportunities that we believe will come our way, number one. Number two, in terms of the investments plan, and today, Krishna, if you see from a company standpoint, the amount of internal accruals that we'll be generating, it's close to 100 crores plus that we will be generating on an annualized basis today. That, along with a combination of vendor financing and our equity, I think that should give us a good leverage to go and expand. I don't see that should be impacting our cash flows because, again, as we invest in these centers, they will be generating additional revenues, which again goes into the cycle of creating additional internal accruals. And again, given our past experience of establishing our centers in so many states, I think we'll be putting our experience to test there and see how we can again leverage these opportunities.
Sure. So just to round it up, so this 65 city and 30 MRI, say over the next 2-3 years, what should that number look like?
So this 65 CT scans is what we expect to make it up to say 100 by next year and maybe 150 the year after. That's the ambition and plan that we have. And likewise for the MRIs, I think by end of next 2 years we should have close to these 50 plus MRIs.
Understood. Yes. Thank you and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dushan Mishra from Sage One Investments. Please go ahead.
Hi, Yash. I just had a really quick question. In your presentation, you mentioned that you have 128 centers for CT and MRI, but you only gave us 65 CT scans and 30 MRIs. That seems a little short of what you mentioned in your presentation. Could you double check that, please?
If you can repeat that, please.
Question was, in your presentation, you have mentioned that you have 128 CT scan and MRI centers, which is on slide 6. But you just said you have 65 CT machines and 30 MRI machines. So I was just wondering where the discrepancy is coming from.
Oh, that does not include the 29 CTs that we have one and we are implementing, right? So if you add that up, including the...
Oh, so that includes got it. So the Punjab tender is what this was.
Yes.
Okay, understood. Second question is, when we bid for a tender that is not statewide, I know Punjab was an anomaly, but when we bid for these tenders, what kind of a competition do we see? Do we see 5 or 6 other players, or do we see only 2 or 3 regional players?
See, of course, after COVID, we are seeing an increased competition for these tenders. Where again, earlier what used to be around 5 to 6 players, we have seen almost 10 to 15 players also who are coming and participating in this tender. But again, there are 2 levels of basically filtration that happens. One is of course the technical rounds, and eventually coming to the quoting the prices for these tests. And given our experience and expertise in this area and our past track record, I think we stand a better chance in winning these tenders with a strike ratio of almost around 80%.
Okay, understood. Second, somebody asked earlier about the realization per test, and I just wanted some clarification on that too. So radiology, if I look at that, you did 1.05 million tests in Q2 FY22. Out of this, how many of them were CT/MRI, and how many were X-ray? Could you help me with that?
Could you just repeat that question, please?
Yeah, out of the 1.05 million radiology tests that you did, how many were CT scan and MRI? and how many were X-ray? Because X-ray realizations would be what would be dragging this down, right? Like otherwise, a simple brain and CT scan is $800. I'm assuming that's what's dragging down the realization of this radiology test.
Correct. So just bear with me a moment. I think the overall CT scans and MRI tests should be in the range of around Hello?
Can you hear? Yes, sir. We can hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think we would have, it would be close to almost around 1.5 lakh CT scan and MRI tests that would have done.
So you said 1.5 lakh CT scan and MRI out of the 1.05 million. So out of 10 lakhs, only 1 lakh for CT.
You would have done around 1,81,000 CT scans and around 62,000 MRIs in this quarter in September 2020.
Understood. That's perfect.
8 lakh tests.
Yeah, the rest would be X-rays. Understood. Next question was on our machines that we buy from GE and Wipro. Compared to some of these regional guys that you might be competing with in these tenders, how much cheaper are these machines for us? A CT scan machine, let's say only 16 slides. If we're paying 1.5 crores, what is somebody who's a regional guy who only buys maybe one machine in several years paying?
So when you compare us versus these local regionalized players, the price variation between what Krsnaa gets versus what others would get, again, it depends case to case basis, but on an average, it will at least be around 15% lower compared to the others.
15% cheaper, you said?
Yeah, 15% lower. Again, a combination of even the CFC cost we get negotiated better, given we have a large fleet of these CT scan and MRI equipment. So that also further brings down the cost of maintaining these.
Understood. So that's a 15% lower tender amount we can pitch right off the bat, other than anybody else, right? Compared to others. Okay. And just one quick question. So you said you have about 2,000 plus employees, including operators, technicians, and lab assistants?
Yes.
But then why is your employee cost this low? Or are those not permanent employees and on contractual basis?
So there are two facts of this. One is, of course, our employee base largely comprises of, these technicians and support staff across these 14 states that we operate out of, and the balance is in the head office. So part of these employees are also on off payroll, but if I have to just give you a very, generic answer, most of these staff are in the lower salary range, as a result of which our cost of employees is also lower.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I lost you there at the end.
So your question was why our employee cost is lower, right?
Yeah, it's extremely low.
Yes. See, today most of the centers, if you consider, these are at remote locations, and most of the staff that we have to deploy at these centers are generally your technicians, your center managers, and of course then we have the management level, employees working at the head office. So because of a combination of these different elements, and also the fact that some of the employees are also to third-party payrolls, like especially the housekeeping staff, the maintenance, that is the reason why our cost is lower.
Okay, got it. Thanks. That's all.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kamlesh from Max Life Insurance. Please go ahead.
Hello. Sir, my question is largely on the capacity utilization of the existing centers. Could you just tell us what is the capacity utilization and how much it can be utilized in next 2 to 3 years?
So if you see currently the capacity utilization normally, CT scan and MRIs is in the range of 40%. There is a certain theoretical capacity, but again, given these volumes, it's at 40%, and we have scope to, improve the utilization ahead as well.
And what about CT scan?
Both for CT and MRI, it's at around 40% utilization.
Overall. Okay. Fair enough. And next 2 to 3 years, it could be how much?
Sorry, could you just repeat that question?
In next 2 to 3 years, how much this utilization could reach to?
So we are, of course, we have plans to increase this utilization to around 60 to 70%.
Mm-hmm.
Which again would probably be, one of the kind of good utilization across the industry.
Understood. So my question is, if we were to take first half, top line around 240 crore, and of course some part of it is of COVID. Even if I reduce that in the second half, on the current run rate, it's 200 plus 240, around 450 approximately the top line of this year. And we're talking about Punjab, where we're investing approximately the 200 crores of IPO proceeds can fetch us top line of 200 crores, if I understand right. So 450 plus 200 is 650, and then we're talking about the utilization also improving of the existing centers. That itself is going to contribute, and plus we're talking about some of the additional capex in the MRI machines, because I see there is some gap in the next year and MRI machine, which is talking about 50, and 30 is already the existing capacity, plus 8 MRI machines in Punjab, and 12 I guess would be in some other states, maybe Himachal Pradesh and others. So effectively, is it fair to assume that put together all of that could fetch us approximately 700 crore of top line, at least in FY23? And this is just a rough estimate. I'm just trying to figure out, is my calculation adding up to the
yes.
right number?
Yeah. So, I think like the back of the envelope calculation that you've done, I think this is, would be fair to assume that this is the kind of revenue we would expect in FY23 after all these Punjab, Maharashtra, Karnataka and the other centers are implemented. Yes, this is the kind of number we're also looking forward to achieve.
And this is in FY24. We are targeting way higher in numbers of CT scan and MRI machines. So the growth would optically look even way better. Is my understanding better?
Could you just repeat that sentence again?
I'm saying FY24, the numbers of MRI and CT scans, the number which you've given by FY24 is even higher. So by that rule, FY24 effectively should be even higher growth.
So the MRI number that you're referring to, these are the number of equipment that will be installed?
Yes. MRI and CT scan.
Yes. So, the number that I said, FY23 is based on a certain assumptions with the number of equipment that we plan to install. And of course, based on additional opportunities that will come along with, our sales, the center also maturing, of course, we see growth in FY24 as well.
Fair enough. And sir, with respect to the new, centers, I am talking about Punjab first. When is it going to commercialize, and what kind of returns one should expect from the new project?
So Punjab we expect to operationalize from the next year fiscal, Q4 of this year, and Q1 of FY23 is where we expect the Punjab to ramp up and operationalize. In terms of the overall margins, it will be consistent with our existing margins that we are generating. Of course, initially it takes a while to ramp up, but overall I think towards the end of the year we'll see the margins stabilizing and at the same level that currently we are achieving.
And we're expecting the similar level of margins to be achieved within a year span from Punjab. Is my understanding right?
Yes, 100%.
Okay, and I remember initially we were talking about Q3 for the Punjab, operations. Could you help us understand the reason of delay? For this
could you just repeat that question?
For Punjab, earlier the understanding was that Punjab would get commercialized or the operations would start coming from the Q3. Now we are giving a timeline of Q4. So, what is the reason of delay? If you could just help us understand.
No, the reason normally is because, there are various operational, getting the centers ready from the site getting ready. Whatever we've committed in the RHP, we are trying to achieve that. I was just saying the revenues, the implementation will happen by Q3 and the revenues will come from Q4 of this year. And the full-scale operations will begin from the next fiscal year.
Understood. And my last question would be, in terms of overall, payment timeline for PPP, is government taking any initiative to bring it down or anything of that sort in terms of further enhancing the fund allocation to the diagnostic services?
See, I think overall, government has taken various initiatives to strengthen the healthcare infrastructure in the country. If you see from a policy level, there is a free diagnostic scheme, there is an essential diagnostics list, there is Atmanirbhar Abhiyan. So I think government is looking at this. Again, in the Punjab tender, we spoke about government is establishing an escrow account. So all these point towards where government wants to support, the private partners in terms of building the infrastructure for the country. And we expect that to also support us in getting our receivables in time.
Ma'am, do you have any follow-up question? Due to no response, we move on to the next participant. The next question is from the line of Anmol Ganju from JM Financial Service. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for taking my question. My first question is straightforward. If you look at the headline variables, right, radiology versus pathology, COVID, non-COVID, EBITDA margins, how representative is 2Q FY22 in terms of where the overall business stands? This is assuming that, obviously not a lot of new greenfield initiatives and what is the impact they'll have. But if you look at the second quarter headline numbers, how representative is it of the steady state business?
So if you consider Q2 of FY21 and how representative it is of the business, I think that's normalized revenue that we would expect at the current state of affairs, where there have not been any major.
Sir, your voice is slightly breaking.
Okay. Is it better now? Can you hear us?
Sir, slightly better.
Okay. So I was referring that the September quarter numbers or revenues that you're looking at, these are the annualized, these are the normalized revenues. Given that COVID is, marginal numbers in our business. And we expect this to continue. Also the fact that, the revenues do not include any new centers that we had implemented in the last, couple of months. So, in our opinion, these are our normalized revenues, and as additional centers get implemented, that will further, improve the revenues and the profitability as well.
Second question is that if our exit rate for this year, looking at the margin trajectory is going to be close to 30% on EBITDA, then the risks to the margins next year, given that Punjab will come on stream and so on and so forth, should be on the upside. Is that a fair understanding that margins could be higher than 30% for next year? Which is okay. And which then brings me to the next question, which is that there's a slide which you have put, which says that our tests are priced 45 to 55% cheaper. We're still doing 30-31% margins with upside risks. And you are also seeing incremental competition. The number of players competing for a tender, which you said were 5, have now gone up to 15, 20. So two questions on that. One is that what is the nature of these incremental 10 players which you're seeing in competition? And second, is there room for significant downward pricing revision, therefore, given that at reasonable discounts to the market, also we are pretty healthy on EBITDA margins?
Participants, please stay connected. The line for the management dropped. Participants, please stay connected while we rejoin the management back to the call. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We have the line for the management reconnected. Anmol, if I may request you to repeat your question once again for the management.
So basically two questions. One is that, given that we still at fairly high, healthy EBITDA margins, and we are cheaper than the market, 45% to 55%, plus there is greater competition. Do you see pricing pressure in your further contract wins or downward pressure from various state governments for revision of prices?
No. As you see, in our model, the prices are contractually embedded as part of the contract. In fact, in most of our contracts, we have price escalations ranging from 2% to 5%. So, we don't see any pricing pressures in the years to come.
And also, you alluded to greater competition, a tender which would be contested by 5 people. Now that number going to 15 and 20. What is the nature of these new 10 players, and what are the variables on which they are competing?
So, see, these new players that are entering, of course, some of them are localized regional, diagnostic chains or setup. Some of them are also established players. So, we are seeing traction from all these. Now, in terms of, variables in size, they are from someone like having just a couple of centers to larger chains as well.
Okay, so it's fairly widespread, is what you're saying, right?
Correct.
So 2 more questions. One is that if you look at the capital allocation, going forward, it looks like you're fairly well covered for revenue growth. The number that you kind of thought the maths adds up to is fairly impressive. And we're going to incur around 150 crores for Punjab. Organizationally, the focus for next 12 to 18 months is going to be to consolidate or try to win further tenders to kind of up this number, because then in that case there will be implications for the balance sheet. If you could just outline for next 12 to 18 months from a capex and returns standpoint, how are you guys thinking about getting the organization? Is it about delivering on whatever is existing or focusing on trying to win the new business? Because I would tend to think that that our hands are pretty full at this point in time.
If you see from a strategy perspective, today, of course, our priority would be to establish the centers that we want. Given that these are centers and some big projects, so the priority would be establishing these centers. Having said that, if you see Krsnaa's track record, we have been able to bid for projects, win them, and successfully implement and install these projects and delivering them. So, while looking at these new opportunities that will come our way, we will continue that trend. But yes, priority-wise is getting these centers up and running and activating them at the earliest.
Lastly, how do you want us to think about depreciation on a full year basis and also the quarterly variation? How should we be thinking about depreciation on a full year basis and then how to break it quarterly?
Could you just repeat that question?
How do you guys want us to think about depreciation next year?
So typically the asset life normally on the radiology side is around 13 to 15 years, and pathology varies. So this will again depend on at what time the investments these centers are getting up and running. Initially, whenever the centers are getting installed, and some of these are essential services, so equipment also have accelerated depreciation. So of course, it will depend on when the investment happens, when the centers get up and running. It will be difficult to give us an average impact, but I think it all ties up to the various projects that we have in hand in the installation plan.
So basically, it would mean there shouldn't be significant quarterly variations, right?
No, of course not.
Thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Anubhav Sahu from 3M Global Research. Please go ahead.
Hello. Thanks for the opportunity. Couple of questions. First question is regarding the the timeline of 5 PPP contracts. So one you mentioned for Punjab, I think it will commercialize by Q4. And for the rest of the contracts, you can just mention what timeline you're looking at for the operationalization of those contracts.
So, for the balance of the contracts, some of the centers, the machines have already been implemented. So I think we are targeting to have the implementation done by Q3, end of Q3, where all these centers should be activated so that we start seeing revenues coming from Q4 of this financial year.
Okay. And I think the 150 CR capex you mentioned, I think this is for all the 5 contracts?
Yes.
Okay. So going forward also, I think 150 to 200, I think you mentioned as the capex intensity for the coming years, right? Is the right understanding?
Could you just repeat that question?
I think somewhere you mentioned, I think the capex intensity for the coming years, you're looking in the range of 150 to 200 CR for the coming years.
Plans that we have given the opportunity that we believe will come our way. So that would be the rate of the capex that might happen in the subsequent years.
Okay. And for this 5 PPP projects, 200 CR you mentioned as the incremental revenue opportunity. And this will it be fair understanding that within a year of operation, probably we can reach that kind of number?
Yes, on an annualized revenue, if all the centers are up and running, this is the kind of revenue that we expect on a full year basis.
Okay. So, I'm just trying to understand that as per your internal targets, so probably by fiscal year 24, probably this could be a number which we may be getting from these 5 centers.
Yes.
Okay, that's all from this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that would be the last question for today. I will now hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
So, thank you everyone. Hello? Can you hear us?
Go ahead. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining for our H1 FY22 earnings call. We are certainly excited to start our journey as a listed company and look forward to having more such interactions going forward. If any questions remain unanswered or if you have any further questions, please feel free to connect with us and our investor relationship teams. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Equirus Securities Private Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us. You may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.